hello everyone. I can't see anybody, which is tough for me because anyone who's ever heard me speak before, I tell people all the time, I'm a Baptist, so I like the call and response. That's how I know you're with me. That's how I know I'm tracking in the right direction. There you go. I see you. I like it. Look at that. Took the initiative. So gang, my company's called Workplace Change, and Workplace Change focuses on workplace excellence, right? The way I define workplace excellence is that it's the convergence of these three pillars of work. One is workforce, like establishing a high quality workforce, right? People who know what's expected of them, people who are in the right positions, doing the right work, because we've all seen when that doesn't happen. It's not good for our businesses. The second one is having high quality and effective leadership. Not people who are in positions of leadership, but people who are truly leaders of your workforce, people who are responsive to the needs of your workforce, people who understand what it takes to have a high quality, high performing business, but also who understands how to get your people excited and jazzed up about the job and excited to show up every single day. And the third pillar, what I call kind of the framework of this trifecta, is diversity and inclusion. Now, a lot of people bring me on board because I'm black and I do HR work. So I don't know if you all knew that I was black. I know that this is probably like, what? I can't believe it. But I am, and I celebrate my blackness all day, twice on Sundays, particularly when I go to church. But diversity and inclusion is the piece that makes your workforce truly, or your workplace truly, an excellent workplace, right? It's a place where you can bring your full self. You don't have to be a shell of yourself to survive, right? You don't have to be in survival mode and, wonder, can I wear my hair in an afro? Or, can I eat my curry soup? Or can I pump my breasts to provide milk for my baby? And will they look at me differently? Or can I go to my child's soccer game? Or will they judge me for it? Like, if those things are happening in your workplace, you don't have a workplace that is truly excellent. You have a workplace that is exclusive. So I'm here to talk to y'all today. They told me to be honest. Can I be honest today? All right, now, see, this is what I'm talking. I can't see you, but I feel it. I feel it pulsing, the positivity. I do. So they said, be your authentic self, Serilda. I said, I'm glad you gave me permission because that's what you were going to get anyway. I'm here to talk to you about a lot of people feel like diversity is a value for them, right? And so they asked me to say, they said, Serilda, how do you actualize that value, right? How do you go beyond just conceptually and theoretically saying, diversity is important to me? What does that look like? And I said, oh, that is exciting. That's an exciting topic for me. So exciting that I took all 20 bullets that I was gonna bring to you today with 15 sub-bullets for each. And I narrowed it down to one. So in my work, and I tell people this all the time, I can't move. I like to move, y'all. I can't move right now. That's okay. In my work, I talk to companies all day. I'm in the people business. I tell people all I do all day long is read people for a living. I read where it is you're coming from and where it is you're trying to go. And a lot of people bring me on board when there's conflict inside their workplace, right? I do culture assessment. So I'll go in and I'll bring a fleet of people and we'll do interviews, in-person interviews with their entire workforce to figure out how do they feel about this work ecosystem? Is it working for them? Do they feel like they can be their true selves? Do they feel like they have effective leadership? Do they feel like they're in the right position? Do they have hopes and dreams that can be realized inside their organization, inside that framework, that makeup of that they spend most of their lives in? Do they see themselves there in the future? That's the work that I do. But they don't normally bring me in when things are good, right? It's like going to the doctor. You don't go to the doctor when you're feeling great. Like, I'm just gonna go see Dr. Patterson, let him know I'm killing it this week. Like, the calisthenics are working for me. I feel real good. My blood pressure's low. Not too low, but just right. They don't call me in for that. They call me in and they're like, Serilda, people are angry, help. And so, because I do this work all day long, every single day of my life, I've been able to identify what is the tension point when it comes to truly living into having a diverse and inclusive work environment. And I've got the one. Today, gang, I'm gonna talk about the the one area that stops people from truly living into their value of having a diverse workforce. And when I say diverse workforce, I'm saying people who are different from whoever the dominant culture is inside your work ecosystem, right? I've done work at predominantly black organizations as well, where they've tried to, they're doing diversity too in different parts of the country. So this is not in Oregon. That does not happen, and I don't even think that's a thing in Oregon. But in other places in the United States of America, there are predominantly black organizations, and sometimes they bring in white folks or Asian folks or like IT or who are doing development work, and they're like, "Yo, what's the problem?" So I work with them too, right? So it's really about bringing in people who are different from the dominant status quo, right? And then what's your response is to it, and it always comes down to this. If you truly want to live into having a diverse workforce, a work environment, or a diverse community, or a diverse nation, and you truly value it and you want to live into it, this is the thing that you have to do. Look at that. Oh, God, it's so quiet. What is it? What did she have? I'm going to kill y'all with this. You have to be prepared to be uncomfortable. And people just want to be comfortable, right? So I work with organizations in Portland specifically, and they're piping in women. And those women are coming in expecting things, right? They're expecting for the bro culture to shift a bit. They're expecting for you not to throw footballs around their heads, right? These are things that really do happen in Portland. I'm just like, y'all doing what? Like, where they do that at? Like, why? Why? And then when the tension happens, what occurs is, well, everything was great until those folks came in. Serilda, find us someone who can come in and adapt to us. Oh, you're uncomfortable, because comfort is power. You know who's always uncomfortable? The underrepresented, the marginalized. They're always tracking to make sure, are you comfortable with me? Are you okay? But they're uncomfortable in their existence. So the moment that the people in power, and that's not just the CEO or the C-suite, that's everyone in that ecosystem who doesn't have to question their existence every morning that they walk inside the organization, because it was built for them to succeed. It was built with them in mind. So then you bring in people from the margins. You say, we value diversity. But do you value inclusion? Do you? That's the question. So I just want to give a couple examples, because I believe adult learners learn from real life examples, because you can see it, right? You've got life experiences, you can see it. When I go to universities, I talk about theories, because they don't know nothing. They haven't lived life yet. I'm like, yeah, this is a concept. You'll see it later. Just work with me. So I say it's only being willing to be an ally and advocate when it's both convenient and comfortable for you, right? If that's the place where if that's how you're showing how much you value diversity and inclusion, you're not doing it right. So I was at an event a few weeks ago. Somebody at the event may even be here, but I promise you I won't say the name of the event. It will remain anonymous. It was an event where I was a minority, which is most places I go, but it was all women. And there were 3 black women, and there were maybe 15 or maybe 20 white women. And it was like women fellowshipping. And we go around the room, and we're talking about the year and learnings, et cetera, from kind of a woman's vantage point. It was a really cathartic experience as a woman. But as a black woman, something happened. There was a black woman who was talking about her learnings over the year, and she started to provide some statistics. She said, we know that women make 70 cents on the dollar, something like this, 70 cents on the dollar of a white man, but that's actually a white woman to a white man. Black women make 60 cents on the dollar. Latina women make 50 cents on the dollar. And she was unpacking the fact that there are disparities within the disparities, right? And we're not actually unpacking how those disparities exist. If this is truly fellowship, we should be talking about the disparities that are happening within the women's movement, right? The inequities that are there. And I'm like, preach, get it? Yes. And one woman who was there didn't like what she was saying. I'm not even making this up, gang. I couldn't make this stuff up. My life is better than fiction. And so this woman was like, she interrupts her. Now, this is the last woman to go. 20 women have gone before this black woman, one of 3, goes. And this woman interrupts her, the only person who was interrupted. And she says, I disagree. She's uncomfortable. So now she believes she's got the power to make the marginalized person feel hyper-marginalized in that environment, right? She interrupts her and no one says a word. All those allies in that room said nothing. Afterwards, right, because, I mean, she totally shut the woman down, interrupted her speech. A couple people said, like, well, let's just let her finish. And the sister was looking like, seriously? Is this how we're living in here? It was awful. It was awful. I stepped in, of course, but then now it's like, of course the black girl stepped in for the black girl. Allies, how do you show up? Afterwards, there was a whole lot of chatter, like at the side. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That should have never happened. Where were you when she was getting like humiliated in a circle in front of everybody? Don't come up and whisper your apologies later, because now that's just you being, it's what's convenient for you. It's what's comfortable for you. You would have been uncomfortable to step into the fray to say, no, not on my watch. Stop it. You will not interrupt her. And by the way, her data was spot on. I actually looked it up later. I was like, yo, this is legit. But the point is, what do you do in a moment where you actually could show how much you truly value diversity and inclusion in a social setting? It was a professional social setting. No one would have lost anything. They didn't. Let me give you another example about comfort and convenience. If you're an ally, then be uncomfortable, right? How much time I have? Am I doing well? Can I get a hallelujah? No, hey, that's what I'm talking about. I got a few minutes. Okay, second example. I told you I had 15 sub-bullets, 10 main bullets. It was too much. So another example. A lot of folks will tell me, a lot of companies will, because we do recruitment work, executive recruitment work, headhunting. And I guarantee folks that they will get 50% candidate applicant pools that are underrepresented, right? So you can go to another headhunter. They cannot guarantee you that you're gonna have a diverse top 10 or whatever. So I talk to folks about recruiting diversity, and they'll come to me and they say they want diversity. And then ultimately, they hire the one white guy who's in the queue. It's like, seriously? Okay, so there were 10 candidates, 7 of whom were women and people of color, 3 were white guys, and they were all equal, like apples to apples, and you still chose the white guy, and you're telling me that it's for fit, but then you say that you value diversity in leadership, but you have no ethnic or gender diversity in leadership, but you still value it. I get it conceptually, but the reason why you didn't go for the underrepresented candidate was because of fit. Well, that means you would have been uncomfortable, right? You would have been uncomfortable with the way that they came in and supported your organization. Fit is important, but how are you defining fit? Because fit can also be a way for you to sustain the status quo, right? I want to be uncomfortable, but I only want to be uncomfortable with the optics of my executive team, not with the way that they approach life, not with their perspective on how you engage the work. I'm not looking for that kind of diversity of thought. I'm looking for diversity of aesthetic exclusively. Well, then you don't value diversity and inclusion. They told me to be honest when I came up here, but I feel like maybe I'm being too honest. Am I being too honest? I might be. That's okay. That's okay. But this is what's real. This is what's truly happening. And I see it all day long. So this is when people say they value diversity. Yeah, but how so? Let's unpack what are you truly valuing? Are you truly valuing the fact that having a diverse workforce, what it gives, what you gain from it? Because then you look like a liberal crusader who's really about the cause aesthetically, but then you hemorrhage the diversity that you bring in. Your attrition rate is at 100% or 70% in 2-3 years. That's saying something about your culture. Are you flexing your culture to truly be inclusive if you're hemorrhaging the diversity that you bring on, but that's almost exclusively who you're losing year over year? These are questions we have to ask, gang, and it all comes back to comfort, right? Can you say that with me? Comfort. Comfort. That's what it's about. So if you want to live into the value of diversity, prepare to be uncomfortable, because change is, you're not realizing change if you're not uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not changing. When's the last time you went from being a coordinator to a CEO and it wasn't vexing? You didn't have, stomach bubbles. You didn't have, angst or stress. That's because you're evolving, you're changing. Change is uncomfortable, right? So if you are comfortable, then you're not living in the change. Okay? So the third example I want to provide to you is centering the voices of those who live on the margins, right? So I'm going to use myself as an example. Folks, so I own my company called Workplace Change, but I also work for the city. Most people probably know me for working in the city of Portland as the Bureau Director for Human Resources. So there are like 90 or so employees who work on my team at the city. And I was a huge change. The mayor wanted a change in the way that the city did human resources. I was a huge change for the way the city had done human resources for a lot of reasons that you probably can't see, but mostly because I'm a human resources activist. I'm not about the status quo. If you want the status quo, number one, everybody's gonna be stressed, including Serilda, because I can't be that. Right? You don't really want it. I'm gonna bring it no matter what. Everybody's uncomfortable, and this isn't that healthy change discomfort. This is that like, I need some Ativan, maybe a little Prozac. Like this is that kind of uncomfortable. Like I'm a bad mom now. Like everybody, this is not the same. That is not that's not the right one. That's not the one I'm saying people need. But that's not what I have right now. Like the city's cool for now. And so I get there, and I only have a couple minutes, so I will be quick. I get there, and the workforce is freaking out, right? They're like, I Googled her. She is a lot. She is, really proactive about, equity and inclusion. We're just white people here, and she's gonna make us, she's just gonna advocate for, the disenfranchised. She won't advocate for like well-meaning white people. It's gonna be a hostile environment for us, etc. And here's the thing. I only lost a couple people on my team over the past 9 months. Everybody was expecting, Serilda's gonna have to do a full-on new hire of everybody. Nobody left. Because when I advocate for those who live on the fringe, on the margins, and I put their best interests at the center of all we do, everyone wins. Right? And conceptually, people from the dominant culture, what they think happens is that because people in the dominant culture typically only advocate and do work for people who are of the dominant culture, generally speaking, to the disenfranchisement of other folks who live on the margins, or the further marginalization of those who are already on the margins, they expect people from the margins who are representatives of the margins to come in and operate in the same vein. That's not typically. Now, there are some people out there with problems. Can I get a hallelujah to that? But typically, people who understand the fringe, who have had to operate life on the margins and from the outside, when they come on the inside, they advocate for those who are on the margins. But that is what's in the best interest of everyone. It's not to the oppression of those who are on the margins. So how does this fit into comfort, right? Or discomfort and growth? Those people now see Black leadership very differently. They understand that because I allow people on the margins to have freedom and to take up space and to be their full versions of themselves, guess what? White folks who want to wear blue hair, come on in, right? Right? You want to bring your baby into work to sit there for 45 minutes because you had daycare issues? Bring your baby in. If you want to show pictures of your bicycling across the city and having lunches with people on the little picture thing that I have in the front of the building, bring it in. And historically, they never were able to do that, because what people from the majority don't understand, or from the dominant culture don't understand, is that you also have to be a shell of yourself when people are being systemically disenfranchised. You're not bringing your full self to the table, because you know that it's not welcome. It's not. You cannot freely express who you are and all the unique, quirks about yourself, because it's not welcome. But you get a person like me who says, weird is good, right? Black is great. Speak your language. I will not force you to not speak your language. You know how many people come up to me from a human resources standpoint saying, these two people, they speak Spanish, and when they're together, they always speak Spanish, and People who don't speak Spanish feel like they're talking about them. They feel like it's excluding them. Are you effing kidding me? Get your life. I'm like, that's crazy, but you will never believe how many people come to me, because they know I'm English speaking, right? I can say a couple words, right? But in another language, I don't really know what they mean, but I know the word. So they think that they have something in common with me. They think they have something else. You don't speak Spanish and I don't speak Spanish, so let's get them Spanish people to stop speaking Spanish. Like, no, let's allow them to be their most authentic versions of themselves, because then they feel like they actually have a home, and then you're gonna get the best out of them that they can possibly provide to you. And that means you may be uncomfortable for a minute, right? Maybe you should get some Rosetta Stone. There's something you can do about that, right? They had to learn your language. Maybe you can learn a couple of words in their language. Like, come on, gang. So if you value diversity and it is truly a value for you and you wanna put it into action, then be flipping uncomfortable, because that is what diversity and inclusion will bring. Moments of discomfort, but brilliance as a result of it. That's my time, gang. Thank you so much.